Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Juanita Wheeler. She has coached over 100 TEDx speakers in addition to CEOs, entrepreneurs, authors, researchers, and train makers to deliver presentation worthy of their great ideas. She is a public speaking coach, speechwriter, CEO and head of curation at TEDx Brisbane, and the founder of Full and Frank. Welcome to the show, Juanita.
Thank you so much, AJ. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll be talking about inside. We'll understand the inside world of the TEDx selection process. We'll do that. But before that, let's understand about you a bit, about your background, your journey, so that people know who they are listening to.
Well, thank you. Your introduction was lovely. Thank you. So, yes, my main focus of my work is on helping people who have brilliant ideas to be able to showcase them and put them out into the world in a way that does them justice and amplifies those ideas. So, it's come from my own experience with public speaking. I'm an introvert by nature, and so public speaking wasn't something I was keen to jump into, but I found in my professional life and in my life trying to advocate for ideas that I was passionate about, it didn't matter how well I was putting them in writing and making proposals and making cases. People who were prepared to stand up and champion their ideas in person and do it well in meetings or to their bosses or in conversations in boardrooms, those were the people whose ideas were being taken up and used. So I realized, okay, if I want to be serious about my ideas and my career and the work I do, then I have to be prepared to get involved with public speaking. And so I went and did the research, like what is the neuroscience behind this? What is the behavioral psychology? What makes the human brain not just hear something, but listen to it and then make a decision, be persuaded and take action? And I then applied those to myself, worked out how to do it well. And then over the years, I've helped more and more people to do it for themselves and their ideas. And now it's what I do full time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so I want to understand this whole TED and TEDx thing. Why is TED speaking and TEDx speaking so famous? And how do I know it will be something like repetitive? You must have answered it before also. But for a lot of people, they hear about TED, they also hear about TEDx. So what's the difference between these two? Some people think TED is the main thing. So why TEDx? Why not directly? I will aim for TED itself.
They're all great questions. So TED, I'm completely biased, but it is a wonderful entity. So their mission is to find great ideas in the world, ideas that have the potential to inform people, inspire them, and make positive change in the world. So the TED platform itself, which showcases great ideas on stage in a format that's 18 minutes or less. So they're short, sharp, succinct, and you can digest them and take away and put them into action. So TED's been running since 1984. It's a very well-established, very highly regarded brand. And what happened is as more and more people found out about TED, the call went out and said, please bring TED to my city. And there was no way TED was going to be able to get into every city in the world that wanted it. So that is when TEDx started. So the idea of TEDx, which has been running for 15 years now, is that it would give a license to people in individual communities throughout the world. You would operate a TED-like event in your local community where you could showcase ideas to your community and from your community using general TED rules and guidelines about how to do it well to ensure the integrity of what you put on stage. And so now there are over 3,000 TEDx events being run throughout the world every year. It is amazing, and it brings communities together. It allows local communities to celebrate brilliant and discover brilliant ideas that are coming sometimes from just down the road and they had no idea. And it puts them out into the world in a way that showcases brilliant ideas and also what's happening in local communities. So it is a wonderful program. And one of the reasons it's so popular is it has great integrity, and it's very well respected as a platform because it is so very particular about what ideas it showcases, that they're credible, that there's no junk science, there's no political agendas. They have to be really good ideas on their own merits. So there's great integrity in it. So it's quite prestigious to be invited to give a talk on that stage.
Right, right. So in a layman's understanding, it is like a franchise of of the TED Talk itself.
Yes, if you're looking for a really simple explanation, yes, it's like a franchise model, but you don't buy the license. It's allocated to you, and you can't make any profits from it. So whereas franchises, you pay for the license and then you get to make as much money as you can. TEDx licenses are all about the integrity of putting ideas into the world and making them great. So you don't buy the license, but you can't make any profit from it. So in that respect, it's like a franchise, except there's no money.
Except that it and TED maintains that full control over any sort of a TEDx event.
Well, yes, you apply for your license every year and it needs to be approved for renewal. So you have to do a good job. And that's really important because you want to make sure that you're serving the community well and that the ideas and talks you're putting on the platform are credible and reputable. But the other way that, and TED gets survey reports back from everyone who attends your event is invited to complete a survey. So they get lots of data and information. And the other thing is every single talk that is recorded for potential inclusion on the TEDx Talks YouTube channel gets submitted to TED. So they get to review the talks before they go online. So if a talk doesn't meet their standards, all the content guidelines, then absolutely they can opt to not include that talk or load it onto YouTube as part of maintaining the incredibly high quality and integrity of the brand.
Right, right, Juanita. Now, in terms of TEDx, uh, what is it that there are a lot of people who are known to be very good speakers. They think we have arrived in life. They think people come and listen to them, but they are not getting a chance to be on TEDx. Their application gets rejected. I don't know. So you help us and understand why is it so? What is the application process for TEDx? And do I have to be in the same city? Can I apply to any TEDx event anywhere in the world, or it has to be in my city or wherever the closest I am?
They're all great questions also. So it's really important to understand that TEDx is a collection of, over 3,000 individual events. We all have guidelines and rules that we have to follow that are set down by TED. But the way that it's specific details of how it's organized at the individual community level vary. So about 50% of the events have open applications. So you can submit an application to those events in order to be a speaker. And about 50% of the events, you can't apply. You'll get a tap on the shoulder or an email or a phone call to invite you to speak. So the first thing to know is only about 50% of the TEDx events have open applications. So that is a starting point is very different. The other thing to know, a lot of people, when they approach me and say, "Oh, I think I'm a pretty amazing speaker. Why am I getting knocked back?" And
Right.
one of the first things I'll say to them is, look, you need to understand the purpose of TEDx and the mission. And one of the things is they will openly say, we are not a stage about the speakers, and we're not a stage for motivational speakers or professional speakers. Typically, what they are is they're all about the ideas. So they're looking for people who have brilliant ideas that are new, that we don't know about yet. They're probably names you've never heard of, but they're doing amazing things, or they have a really important idea to get into the world. And then, we will work with them. I can speak for TEDx Brisbane. We find an idea that's wonderful, and then we work with the speaker to help them be able to deliver it. But we are not looking for people who traditionally go, well, I'm a great motivational speaker and I do all this motivational speaking. Motivational speaking is not what TEDx is about. TEDx talks can absolutely motivate and inspire, but they're not, your typical motivational speaking talks. So a lot of the people who I speak to who are like, I can't understand why I'm not getting picked. That's usually why. So the tip I always give people is find your great idea. What is your big idea worth spreading that isn't already in 10 TEDx talks? That's something new. You've got a perspective. It's a really important idea that needs to get out into the world, and focus on the idea, not on your status as a speaker.
Absolutely. Focus on the idea. So let me ask you it this way. You are the head of curation at TEDx Brisbane. As the curator, what do you actually look for in a particular speaker? How do you go about finding that speaker with that idea that you have heard of and you want the world to hear from that person?
So at TEDx Brisbane, we are, first of all, to answer your question about do you have to go to your local one? No, not necessarily. So a lot of TEDx's, and ours included, we want to have the majority of our speakers being local or having a direct connection to our local city. So for us, we aim for 80% people who are local to Brisbane or have a connection to Brisbane. They were born here or they studied here. And then 20% we typically will bring in from outside, someone who has a brilliant idea we think our community needs to know about or the world needs to know about, and they just don't happen to live here. So, but we go for 80% local. And most TEDx's will have a certain number of speakers that they will accept outside of their geographical area. So no, you don't have to be local, but you should look at what your individual local TEDx that you're looking to apply for says. They will let you know if they're only looking for 100% local people or 100% everyone must be affiliated with their university. Whatever the rules are, they will tell you. But what we look for is, so we're monitoring news outlets, we're monitoring university alumni news, we're monitoring emails from different think tanks and groups in our community. We have Google alerts set up for, Brisbane World First and all of those kind of things, Brisbane leading research. So anytime something is, new, novel, world first, inspiring, revolutionary happening in our city, we will get the Google alerts. We also are subscribed to a wide range of updates, newsletters, blogs. If people are, new PhD theses come out, we will at least read the cover sheet, maybe not the whole PhD, but we will be looking at things. So at any given time, we'll have between 120 and 140 people that we are watching on our watch list for TEDx Brisbane. And we sometimes will watch people for 2 to 3 years. If we know they've just started a really cool research project, but they won't know the results for 2 or 3 years, we'll be watching them for 2 to 3 years. We'll be listening to the updates. We'll be making sure we're subscribed to their channels. We will be following them very lovingly, not at all stalker-like, to find out what's happening and decide, is this a great new idea that we would like to feature? But we're generally looking for something that is new, that hasn't appeared anywhere else, that is going to have a significant impact. If we put it on our stage, we're going to help amplify its growth and its uptake of an important message. We can help that happen. And that it's something that we feel is timely and it needs to be on our stage now versus something that, hey, we can wait 3 years and it can be on our stage later. So we're balancing all of those things out at any given time. And it's a hard decision when we shortlist, but we end up with, 16 to 20 speakers each year on our main event. And we're always really happy because you've got to have that broad diversity. One of the TEDx requirements is that your main event, it's not just on a singular topic, it's a broad diversity of topics. So we have to make sure that, you know, we cater to that. So if people come along to our events, you don't know what you're going to get. You're going to get a little bit of everything, and you're going to increase your knowledge across a broad range of topics.
Right, right, Juanita. So you mean if the speaker can be, most of them will be 80% will be from that local area, but a speaker can then expect to hear from any TEDx event from anywhere across the world, or at least in their country. Is that right?
It will depend on an individual TEDx. That's the most important thing to understand, is every TEDx is slightly different. So they have different criteria about what percentage of local versus outside of their local zone they will take. They will have different application processes, whether you can apply or it's invitation only. And they'll have different rules about whether or not they contact everybody who applies or they only contact people who are successful. The important thing to do is to understand which events you'd like to apply for, and then understand what they're looking for and what they need, because helping them, they're looking for great ideas, you know, all the time. If you make it as easy as possible for them to understand why your idea really is new and important and great, then that's the best thing you can do to be respectful of their time, and also help them to see that your idea is fantastic and worthy of the TEDx stage.
Right, right. And what do you mean by great ideas? Means it sounds like, somebody who has invented something is about to invent something, and and that person will have a better chance in any TEDx event. An idea is something very futuristic. Any idea which can be not so great, but very you can say grand, but does not have a basis, then the person will say, listen, my idea may seem grand today, but tomorrow it can be reality. How do you know what a good idea is, but then how do you actually explain it to a wider audience, where everyone will think they have a great idea? And Juanita, you are not looking at that big idea, you are only looking in a very very narrow way. How would you like to explain it to such people?
Well, I think the important thing to know is a great idea with, with featuring doesn't have to be that you've discovered the cure for cancer or that you've worked out how to get us to Mars. Like, it doesn't have to be grand. A great idea doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be enormous. It can be, really small, but have a really significant flow on effect. One of my favorite TED Talks of all time was a gentleman who got on and talked for, I think it's 4 or 5 minutes, about paper towel, how to use paper towel effectively. It was a 3-minute talk about how to use paper towel. Now, that was not discovering cancer, cure for cancer, or going to Mars. But all these years later, it's still one of my favorite talks, because he talked about, if you use paper towel in a particular way, and he talks about how you shake it and fold. I can still do the actions because it's stuck with me. That you can dramatically reduce the amount of paper towel you use, which will dramatically reduce landfill. Now, and he then he had the science to back it up. So he was talking about, here's how we know this. I won't try and say the science for you, but because I wouldn't do a good job. But he talked about it. So it's really important. Like, there is a great talk about, how to use paper towel more effectively to reduce paper waste. So it's not curing cancer, but it's a great idea worth spreading. So I think that's the thing to understand. You need to be able to explain your idea really clearly. Albert Einstein said, if you can't explain something to an 8-year-old, you don't understand it yourself. So you need to be able to explain it clearly and succinctly to a general audience. And you need to be able to show that there's some proof that this concept has legs, that it's got some research or some evidence or something behind it that says this is credible and could work. Because it's not going to make it to a TEDx stage if you have no way to prove that this is a viable concept or it could happen. So, if it was me and I wanted to go and present an idea, or I was pitching a TEDx for a TEDx talk, I would be saying, here is my idea in 12 words or less, really clearly. I'd be saying, here is the proof that either I have evidence, I've put it into action in small scale, or I tried it at my local school, or here's some other research that shows that if I add this bit and this bit together, there's research that will say it will work. So I would be showing that it is credible, and I can it will stand up to scrutiny. And then I would get out there and champion it. So if you want people to find you and to know that you've got this great idea, I would also be talking to alumni newspapers. I'd be talking to my local newspapers and radio shows and getting as much coverage and featuring as I could. So then it will make it far easier for people to find you and know that it is a legitimate idea.
Absolutely, it's a legitimate idea. But tell me, Juanita, is it an easy life for you? Anywhere you go and they come to know, okay, this Juanita is from TEDx Brisbane, and people must be catching you because everybody wants to be, to get that endorsement of TEDx. So how do you deal with such situation? And if someone says, I want to apply for it, how do you tell them? Can they apply in any sort of way? Is there a particular way they can pitch? How does it work?
So, yes, I get a lot of people approach me, and my LinkedIn inbox is slammed. So I have a general LinkedIn blog post now. It's called "So You Want to Give a TEDx Talk," and I send people there, which talks about tips of things you can do, and tries to explain this is the different way. The other thing I'll say to people is the first thing you should do is TED has an event listing it puts out. Please don't pay anyone for a list of upcoming TEDx events, because TED has done the work and they hold that's available for free for you. So if you Google TEDx event listing, you will find a list. It's a search database. You can type in your country and it will list every upcoming registered TEDx event for you. You can then go and look at those TEDx events, their websites, their social media. You can follow them. And if they have open calls for speakers, they will tell you when they are. And then you can read everything they say. The best thing you can do when you're applying for a TEDx is the TEDx organizers will typically tell you exactly what they want. So if they tell you, give me your idea in 10 words or 12 words, if they say, write me a bio that's 100 words long, if they say, do a video that is 3 minutes and submit it, do exactly what they ask and get it in there. And then that's the best chance that you can have to ensure that your application is looked at and considered.
Right, right, Juanita. Now, on the day of recording, whoever gets selected, how does that recording happen? There is this whole event. There are people. We see people clapping and the person speaking. How does that actually work? Are there also retakes? People can, make any mistake. How does, or is it all live for the audience at that point in time?
So every individual event is slightly different, but as for the majority of them, we video it live. A lot of the events are live streamed. So for accessibility reasons, to make sure that even if people can't afford the ticket, they can watch it via a live stream, or if they can't get there. So the live stream is obviously 100% live. And then in terms of the videos, we record them on the day. There are no do-overs. People don't get a second chance to do it. But, if there's a fumble, we will generally try to edit that out. We have very good video production people. And I'm quite meticulous in saying, please cut out 1 second here or 3 seconds there. And we work with someone who's very talented. So they are slightly edited and polished. But for the most part, the videos you see are close to exactly how they're delivered on the day.
Right, right. Well, the one last question I want to understand is that how do you make sure that this person is coming to give to the world or to take from TEDx? Is that easy to gauge or is it difficult? And also, from your point of view, how do you ensure that you are not taking from that person but giving to that world, to the world?
So to answer the first part of that question first, we're getting better. You get better and better at it all the time. So in your first year, maybe you're not as good at spotting people who are more interested in taking than giving, to use your language. But very quickly you start to see the red flags. And so we have so many people who would love to be on our stage. We're very fortunate that we can be very selective in picking who we would like to feature. So in addition to watching them, and we will listen to podcasts that they've been on, and we'll listen to interviews they've done, and we'll read papers and their social media posts. You get a very good sense of what kind of person somebody is by what they write and how they speak. So you get a very good sense before you go in to make it to our shortlist. And then when we get close and we're shortlisting, I will go and do a meeting with somebody. And most of the time that will just confirm this is a really great person who really wants to do good in the world with their idea. And we'll go, great. Very occasionally, you'll meet somebody and you'll realize, I don't think this is a great fit for our event. And you'll say, thank you so much, but we're not going to take it ahead from here. They might be a really great fit for other events. They're just not right for our particular event, which is so much about giving to the world. But you get better at it. And then, of course, with our process, we vet and fact check rigorously every single word that they say that gets locked down as a script before they go on stage. So we know exactly what they're going to say word for word before they get on stage. So that is another way we make sure that they are absolutely giving to the world of their ideas and they're not there to try and sell things from stage. That is an absolute deal breaker. And in terms of how we make sure that we are giving to them, well, we pour 5 months worth of heart and soul into their talks. We help them craft an incredibly compelling script for their speech that will help them, they'll have language then that they can go and use for the rest of their life championing their work. And we've helped them refine it to like world-class scripts of how to give a presentation. We teach them stagecraft. We coach them. We then promote them. We stick them on jumbo billboards in our city, throughout our city, to elevate recognition of them and their work, because they are often brilliant people who are doing world-leading research or work and nobody knows their name. And suddenly they're on a jumbo billboard in our city. So we give in a lot of ways to make sure we continuously elevate the people who are a part of our community as speakers.
Right, right, one. That's why a lot of people keep trying for such, big places for obviously sharing with their ideas with the world, but not everyone will get a chance or can get a chance. But the learnings can be there. You have coached over 100 TEDx speakers in addition to so many other people. What is it that TEDx events, they look so compelling, so structured, everything looks out to be so good. People can watch videos. Can they simply learn from the videos itself? But you are the coach. Why not ask you, how do I make a structure, the TEDx structure, so that I can use it for the rest of my life for any of the public speech or any speech that one would want to make? Is there a secret to this whole structure? There are so many brilliant people, brilliant speakers, but what is it that TEDx teaches and people are still trying to learn in the outside world? How can they refine their speech as per what TEDx? Give us that whole idea about structuring a speech just in 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
That's really hard to do in a short period of time. First of all, there's no one way to do a speech. So that's really important to know. There are multiple ways you can give a really compelling speech. So don't think it has to fit one formula. There is no one formula. There are some really important guide rails, which is you want to make it as succinct as you can. So don't do a 12-minute talk if you can get an idea across in a really great and compelling way in 6 minutes. Longer is not better. Shorter, punchier, compelling is great. So that's one thing to definitely take away. Don't talk for 12 minutes if you can talk for 6 and really get it across. The other thing is to remember, public speaking is not about you as the speaker. Public speaking is about the audience. So if you want to do a TED style talk or any kind of really great persuasive speaking where you want the audience to feel inspired to go and take some kind of action, then you need to make sure that what you put into the script that you'll use is just about what the audience needs to hear. What will inspire them? What will they feel motivated? What will motivate them? What will inform them? What do they need to know? Which is very different to what are the cool things I would like to talk about? And often that is what speakers will do. They will start working on what they're going to say in their speech. And they're like, here are all the cool and exciting things I'm interested in that I'm going to talk about. That is the exact opposite way to do it. What you need to do is work out, what do they need to hear? What will bring them value? You have to stop thinking of public speaking as selling things or as being about a show of you're awesome. And you need to start thinking of public speaking as serving. How do I serve this specific audience? And that really is about, is core, I think, at TED style presentations and also any great presentations. What can I give this audience in the way of knowledge, inspiration, motivation to go and do things that they don't have when they walk in? So when they leave this room, they're going to feel more informed, knowledgeable, empowered, inspired than they did when they came. And if you've got a single sentence in your presentation script that isn't necessary to do that, cut it.
Wonderful, wonderful. There is so much to learn from you, Juanita, and I'm sure a lot of people who want to, learn from you, learn more about you, the way you work, about all the things that is possible for them to learn from you. So, what is the best way for them to connect with you?
Probably the best way is either by following me on social media, and on LinkedIn, that would be following me at Juanita Wheeler. But if you're interested in public speaking at all, I have some free tools, some free guides on how to get started in public speaking and how to grow your business with public speaking. And you can find all of my free tools at my company's name, fullandfrank.com/tools.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.